Brandon Thurston from Wrestlenomics is up next, and we're going to follow Brandon with John Pollock from Post Wrestling.
Delivering on the returns, increasing our margins.
Ratings go down the toilet if I'm not here.
All I do is simply put the math in my favor.
We agree that Brandon and John do good work.
The reason is simple wrestling economics.
I've been told the Netflix numbers. I've been told the metrics a little bit, probably 5 different times. I still don't get it.
There were respectable wrestling journalists who needed answers.
Thank you very much, members of the media. I hope you all go to hell.
How about we pop a number right here, right now?
Whole part of the show, man.
Everyone. It's Thursday, August 13th. Welcome to Pollock and Thurston, where, let's just be honest, the world of professional wrestling, it is debating chairs over the last week. And
the politics, we discussed whether or not to talk about this sensitive issue today. And as I always say, whether it's Mercedes Moné star ratings, whether it's the politics of ring crew and setting up chairs, we don't back down. We don't shy away from any of it.
Well, I think that the online discourse has gone through a regression model this week when it comes to the discourse on this topic. But I am honored that we have Brandon Thurston, not just a wrestling economist with us, but somebody that can also give pertinent life advice when it comes to this very subject matter, as a man that was involved in the professional wrestling industry as both a performer and as a trainer. And he can give us his insight. How would the Buffalo wrestling scene react to such a defiance of a 19-year-old not setting up chairs at his local independent?
Well,
how would Empire State Wrestling respond to
this? Could be a big issue. This could be a big issue. Now, this let's set aside for the moment the question of whether or not you are the direct descendant of a WWE Hall of Famer. Let's set that issue aside. This could be a very big issue for you, especially if you don't have other sort of subculture, social capital, and you are, if somebody's just looking for a reason to sort of not use you, not give you professional wrestling opportunities. If you're young in the business, I think age often has a lot to do with it too. You could be, if you're having your first matches at, in your 30s and 40s, more power to you. But I think it's a little bit easier visually to get away with doing less, but it shouldn't be. But anyway, yes, that guy wasn't doing it. The guy didn't lift one effing board. That will be said about someone.
Have you ever recalled, like, obviously there's going to be special examples for, your, Paul Walter Hausers and such, but someone that is a fly-in for the second match of his career. Like, this is a pretty unique circumstance. Son of a very well-known wrestler. It's literally the second match of his career. He's a teenager, but he's also a fly-in for this show. Is more or less expected of someone when they are a fly-in in this type of a situation?
It does create a bit of a dilemma. I would I'm inclined to say it's your second match ever. Don't give anybody a reason. Don't give anybody a reason to value you less, or to have a reason to say, this person, doesn't respect the business, doesn't do the right things, doesn't conduct himself in the right way. I mean, we're all sort of, scared rodents running around in wrestling, especially in the very beginning. And with that being most of our experiences, for somebody to show up in their first experiences in pro wrestling and not be so eager to please and help is offensive to some sensibilities. Unless, depends on who your dad is. Right?
I mean, that's obviously going to play a factor in all of this. I mean, that at the end of it, as with Avery Styles, he's being booked because his last name is Avery Styles. If this was Avery Thurston, I don't know if he's getting booked by GCW
Excuse
match
me.
number 2. Perhaps they're going to wait till they see, a larger body of work. Now, the issue here that does, like, usually when I hear a lot of these stories, and as someone that does not contend to have the inner workings of the wrestling code among workers, is usually it comes across as like cult-like activity. And in this case, many times we can lean on examples where it's just, you just don't know any better. It's the game of like, whatever you do, you're going to screw up somehow. You didn't shake the right hand. You didn't genuflect to the right person. In this case, it was conveyed that he was asked about this and did not participate in this.
Oh, I don't know the facts of this. I apologize. This is not.
This is alleged. That
Allegedly.
Yeah.
We don't want to defame anybody here.
But on the other side of it, and these are way more common stories.
So these are the allegations that someone alleges, Sarah Cannon, does he allege that Avery Styles was asked to help?
It was pointed out to him is how it was stated at this GCW show, and that he was on his phone. Again, I'm giving a lot of leeway here to a 19-year-old who's here. And AJ's side is, he was flown to this show, and therefore that's not his job to be setting up the chairs, however you want to fall on this side of the argument. Now, Natty, who kind of, in a roundabout way, was just trying to give a compliment to this match, and this thing exploded into this multi-day story that just makes you want to put your head through a wall. She was explaining when she was first down in FCW, she was watching the show, and she had pulled up a chair to watch in the back, and it turned out there was a veteran there, and Natty didn't give up her chair to the veteran. And so she was pulled aside and told, when there's a veteran in the room, you give up your chair. But she said this was told to me in private.
Who's a veteran? How do you identify somebody who's on the main roster? Is that what she's
perhaps maybe there was someone visiting? Maybe, I mean, she had just started there. Technically, everyone in comparison to Natty would be a veteran in FCW. To her being, I guess, you're considered a rookie once you sign your developmental deal. But like, that is the kind of stuff that it was like, you can have your wrestling industry. I have no desire to be part of this cult that you have to just read minds like you're Obi-Wan and understand that, oh my God, I'm sitting on a chair. Oh my God, I upgraded my flight to first class. Can't do that. It's like the code book that no one has written down. It's just you're supposed to know all this just by second nature. And that is the stuff that is, I mean, it's what makes this industry so...
That's why indie wrestling sort of, in my experience, was full of. It was very tempting to be, to see opportunities to sort of, tell somebody new that they're doing something wrong, because there's all this sort of performative power structure performance happening, and things like that can fit right into it. You're not doing the ring crew. You didn't set up the chairs. You didn't give up your seat to somebody. You didn't shake somebody's hand. There's all these codes and cultural mores that you're supposed to be respecting. And people yelled at you or, scared you and warned you about not respecting those things. So as soon as you get a chance to sort of show that you're part of this culture as well, it's very tempting to do that. I think I was on a show, and I think Bryan Danielson's talked about, he would go to shows and he was Bryan Danielson. He was the American Dragon. And he was still helping. He loves to set up rings, I've heard. I think I was on one show with him once, and I think he probably was grabbing boards. I don't know that it should be all that different from regular business life. Like, just be a good person and help people out. And it's if a bunch of scrubs are tearing down the ring, help them out. Why not? I don't see why we have to engage in all this status. I don't know why. It's often just more, it's often the people who are newest, who have the least experience, who have, who are called on the least to have to go do something else. But so they're the most available, maybe, and they've been around the least, and sort of seniority, it falls to the people on the bottom. But I think everybody should just, try to lead from the front and do what you want other people to do.
What do you think about the social media component of this that has made it such a story, and why
it makes
there
everything 10 times worse? Yeah.
Why is there such an interest in this specific story? Like, I'm dumbfounded that this has lasted as many days as it has. That it is a debated. Like, this is
because Dad said actually he didn't have to do it. That's why. Right.
And this is brought in like
because it's created like a new rule by decree, by utterance that, oh, I didn't know that this was a rule, because AJ says Avery doesn't have to do it. I can't believe we're kicking off Pollock and Thurston with this, because AJ says Son doesn't have to do it. That's okay. And AJ Styles has such clout in the wrestling industry. He's one of the greatest wrestlers of our generation. So he can't be wrong in this structure. He can't be wrong. He's AJ Styles. You can't argue with him because he outranks you.
So there you go. Well, and he got backup in case he needed it. Cody Rhodes has spoken. That's right. Can you pay your dues through osmosis, through blood?
There's this is a new rule we all have to now know and respect. This is the patrilineal, the lineage of dues paying. Dues can be inherited, even from living family members.
Can I quantify my dues paid? Like, can we get a number of dues I have paid, and then I can distribute it accordingly? Like, if you
have to check with who's the most senior vet in your vicinity. Mm-hmm. And they can be outranked by any other senior vet who comes above them. Yeah.
Like, if I paid too many dues, like, what good does that do me? Then I want some currency here that
That's
I can
good for somebody
disperse
else, though.
Can I sell my dues?
No.
Can this be like Bitcoin?
No. And those dues have nothing to do with union dues either.
Okay.
That's straight.
Yeah, this is a very painful story. I'm not going to lie. I can't.
You should probably just edit the first, 10 minutes out.
Well, it's a slow news week is the headline for today's show, and thus,
if you have questions, put them in the comments.
Yes, we're open to. You don't have to send a super chat. We will be monitoring the chat, and if you want to send in a question, and we deem it discussion worthy, we will throw it up and take some of this. But some people really wanted to hear Brandon's thoughts on the chair controversy, as well as some of your graphics as well that leaned into this. You were worried people wouldn't get it.
Yes, there were multiple versions of the thumbnail that were offered today.
Yes. We have a settlement with the WWE and Vince McMahon. Well, we have a figure. Last week when we spoke, we only knew what the WWE had disclosed in the second quarter earnings filings, that their end of the settlement was going to be approximately $105 million, roughly 3/4 of which would be covered by insurance, at least they presume. And then we got the update on Friday, and nothing grabs my attention more than, in quotations, narrow disagreement.
It's a
narrow or wide, it's a disagreement. And wouldn't you know it, this is a significantly higher amount, totaling $147.5 million for this merger lawsuit settlement, which, if Vince McMahon has to make up the difference here, puts Vince on the hook for $42.5 million.
Yes. So as we talked about last week, and in fact the week before that, there's been sort of like little details that that came out just after, just the morning after we recorded last time, for a couple weeks in a row with this merger case. So they had put TKO had put out in their 10Q, in one of their quarterly filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission, said that this was going to be a $105 million settlement for WWE's portions, so that raises the question about, well, are there other portions? Would Vince be paying his own portion? And so we had a letter come in from one of the plaintiff attorneys here. This is, do I have the right one? I think I do. What is this dated? July 30th? That's probably not the one, right? We probably want the one that's most recent, from Kimberly Evans, one of the many attorneys for the plaintiffs, who wrote to the judge, Vice Chancellor J. Travis Laster, writing on August 6th. What was that, last Friday? Last Thursday.
August 6th was last Thursday.
Yes, writing. So did we not? No, this is at night. Okay, so it didn't appear till the next morning. So she's writing that the court makes clear that there is no provision of the settlement stipulation that is in dispute. So what's happening is the settlement, which is agreed to in principle, which means we've come to a mutual understanding. We have made a verbal agreement. I don't know if there's anything in writing to bind me to this. Maybe there is, but we don't have the details finalized and hammered out yet. And what plaintiffs are saying is, hey, look, we've been discussing this. This was 2 months ago more than 2 months ago now, that the settlement in principle was agreed to, and they've been all this time working on the exact details so that it can all be put on paper and signed. And there's been a lot of drafting, it sounds like, and some revisions and comments and edits. And it sounds like plaintiffs, which are all one group, plaintiffs say, yep, we're good with it. Vince has apparently said he's good with it. WWE has been participating in this, but they won't sign it. And the plaintiffs have written a letter to the court and then wrote another one. There's a narrow disagreement between the Vince side and the WWE side about something about indemnification and insurance. We don't know the details of it. And we did talk about that last week, but we didn't have this letter yet from the plaintiffs following up, saying, yes, there's a narrow disagreement between defendants and Mr. McMahon over the scope of releases tied to certain indemnification and contribution obligations between themselves and their insurers. That's quoting one of the defendants' earlier letters. And then Attorney Evans says, respectfully, this is not our problem. Defendants' allocation. Yes, this is now. I've been reading some of Vice Chancellor J. Travis Laster's his scholarly work, and I was reading over a lot of his work on civility and how it's very important to the litigation and particularly the discovery process. But I digress. Defendants' allocation and indemnification issues are not a contingency to be agreed upon to the agreed upon settlement that plaintiffs accepted on the last business day before the trial. Plaintiffs agree with Defendant McMahon that, quote, there should be no remaining obstacles preventing defendants from signing the settlement stipulation. Separately, TKO issued a Form 10Q, that's what we just talked about, disclosing WWE's contribution to the settlement, $105 million. That disclosure failed to disclose the full $147.5 million settlement amount and the remaining contribution allocated to McMahon and or insurers on his behalf. So that's how we get this $147.5 million number there. So let's go on. As a result of defendants' partial disclosures and attendant delays in papering the settlement, the press now has circulated an incomplete picture of the full settlement. Suffice to say, defendants' continued refusal to execute the settlement stipulation is creating larger problems. And she offers to have a conference. The
narrow disagreement equals larger problem.
Yes. I guess W probably looked at this as we have a responsibility to disclose our portion of it. We don't have a responsibility to disclose whatever Vince might be paying for. The judge did, we can show it on the screen here, issued a minute order saying you have until August 24th. The parties must provide a joint update on the status of the settlement papers if the parties have not filed a settlement stipulation by that time. The update must take the form of a single joint submission. So until August 20th. So if they don't have a settlement finalized and filed, signed by everybody by August 24th, they have to jointly provide an update explaining themselves.
And what is August 24th?
Is that All In or something? It's
Vince McMahon's birthday.
Is it? Oh. So defendants, D&O defendants, W defendants, I think have been asking for August 28th as a time that they would update the court by if they did not file a settlement before then. That was the following Friday. Vice Chancellor Laster set it to the Monday before the Friday instead. Probably doesn't know that's Vince's birthday.
Yeah, he's turning the big 8-1 this year.
Okay.
Will $42.5 million be felt by Vince McMahon? Do you think he would have? Would he have any protections for any of this, or would this just be he would have to straight up pay this amount? Like, you would think any indemnification would be through the company, which it sounds like he is not going to be able to exercise here.
So if we go back to Attorney Evans's letter, she does use, and she's quoting from the defendants. I don't know if it's the Vince defendants or the D&O defendants. She uses this plural between themselves and their insurance carriers. I don't know if WWE just has two insurance carriers that are covering this, or if Vince has his own separate insurance in addition to WWE's. I would think on its face that Vince would be indemnified as a director. Directors are indemnified, just like Nick and Paul and George and Michelle. And because he would be indemnified, I would think that their insurance would cover issues related to his conduct in terms of fiduciary duties in a lawsuit like this. However, as we discussed last week also, he's alleged to have intentionally self-dealt and intentionally, allegedly, predetermined this merger process, causing an unfair deal, an unfair price, allegedly, and to assure his own personal survival in the company. Now, all that, according to, if you just read the plaintiff's side of it, all that's intentional. So if I intentionally take a sledgehammer to the hood of my car, and then I call up Progressive and I say, hey, I want to make a claim. I just took a sledgehammer out and I smashed the hood of my car. Fix it for me. They're not gonna play along, I don't think. So I don't know. So we're into really speculative territory about what's going on here.
We don't want to get speculative, but what is a reasonable avenue of speculation is that Vince McMahon could have several significant settlement payments between the Janelle Grant case, if that ultimately settles, and the outstanding Ring Boy lawsuit as well. Like, those are all theoretically, large sums that could be, Vince McMahon could be responsible for.
We have a Progressive employee in the chat who says we will cover you smashing your sledgehammer. So I'm going to talk to my Progressive agent about that.
Okay, well, there you go. So
yeah, we don't know. We don't know that he's made any sort of settlement or any sort of. I don't think any money has changed hands between the defendants in the Grant case and Grant just to go to arbitration, which is where they're at now.
No,
there's no sign of a settlement in the Ring Boy case, but yes, there is apparently a settlement here. Vince has money, I've heard. He's still got. Did you know Vince McMahon still owns a lot of TKO shares? He's still got like another $1 billion worth of equity.
No. He's gone. He's out of the company.
He is still the largest non-financial institution shareholder in TKO.
Okay. Our Progressive employee wants to correct the record here, just in case he's being quoted on the record here, that no, we would laugh at you after the call. Sledgehammers are progressive. They're not that progressive, okay, when it comes to what if you were like you were under the it was a divine intervention and you had no control of your limbs and the sledgehammer.
Acts of God. I'll check my policy. That's probably in there.
Okay, religion is always. When you're all out of options, lean on God. Sorry, I interrupted.
So, yeah, moral of the story is, Vince can probably afford, and Vince can probably afford, $43 million in a settlement. The thing worth noting, is that, do you think that, let's say there's a settlement in the Ring Boy lawsuit, it's probably not going to be for $42 million. If there's a settlement in the Grant case, it's probably going to be for less than $42 million. But shareholder value, that's a big deal. That's bigger than these very serious cases of alleged sexual abuse.
Yes. Everyone knows the priorities in mainstream America and white collar issues of what you are ultimately going to pay for.
If you screw over individual people, you abuse individual people, that's one thing. But if you screw over financial institutions and their billions of dollars in investment, that's a bigger deal.
Can't be messing with those zeros. So we had a major filing this week by the WWE, and folks, this is going to be breaking news, okay? Because I don't think anyone has this.
No one has this.
WWE signed a deal with Netflix. Announced publicly the very same week that Janelle Grant filed her lawsuit. What timing? What a week for WWE. And Brandon has sought out for more transparency from this company. And Brandon, you have prevailed. You were able to get a huge filing from the WWE giving us the Netflix contract. I mean, I am seeing this for the first time, and I cannot wait to see what they turned over.
So, we're in the midst of my third challenge process. There's a motion, and WWE has moved to keep certain things about its Netflix contract that are mentioned in a filing. They want to keep that redacted. I filed an opposition. All that's public. We'll talk about it after the judge rules on it. But on the same day that my opposition was due to be filed, the parties were also due to file a number of sealed filings that are on the docket that have never had public versions filed of them yet. One of those sealed filings was the Netflix contract itself, because part of what's being litigated here is whether or not this deal was fair. And to argue that the deal was fair, the WWE side was saying, hey, look at this Netflix deal. This shows that the synergies really worked here, and it was really a good deal for investors. So they did file the document.
This is one where if you're an audio listener, you've got to watch the video here.
We'll narrate it, because here for people watching in video, here it comes, the Netflix contract with WWE, the huge, historic, one of the biggest deals in the history of Netflix and the history of media. And here it is. It is how many pages? It is a 40-page memorandum of understanding, I think they call it, between WWE and Netflix. We've got every page.
We are staring at 20 blank slides, all redacted.
Wait, there's more. There's another 20. It's 40 total.
Oh, what is file number 24? What does that give us, Brandon?
I think there's some signature. There's a signature from Nick Khan and from a Netflix executive, executing the agreement.
Okay, so we can determine Nick Khan was part of this negotiation.
Yes, we also have a heading. We have a couple sentences from the very beginning.
This is unbelievable.
Readable.
This looks like the saddest apartment complex where everyone's blinds are closed.
Yeah, it looks like the available public records of examples of AEW talent contracts.
I mean, it's one thing to, hey, we'll give them something, and it's another, nah, let's just redact everything. There is 98% redactions on this memorandum of understanding that was filed.
They did file a number of other things that had minimal redactions that I have no issue with. This is a document that they wanted to protect, clearly.
Yes. Everyone in the chat room is enjoying this this big reveal that we were able to unearth for all of you Pollock and Thurston listeners. So this was quite the disclosure from WWE. Let's do an update on the G1. We're at the tail end of the G1. There are 2 more shows to go. I did notice, Brandon, your absence this year in the G1 pool as a former winner.
It's the second year in a row. That's the second year in a row. I've heard Jason Umpasur, though, is leading.
He is running away with this thing. He has basically clinched it. We don't have today's results, but he was far and away the leader.
I looked at it this morning. He was ahead in the post wrestling.
The C
family.
block. Yes,
the C block.
But we do have the updated attendance figures, and outside of the opening night, which was here in North America at Hoffman Estates in the Now Arena, that drew 4,032. We went through this last week, but we had several shows over the past week. They had shows at Yokohama Budokan, in Gunma, in Sarina, and Hamamatsu as well. So, Brandon, do you have an update on the G1 Climax attendance? And has this changed any of the trajectory after we looked at this last week?
So I have to apologize for last week. I had the x-axis reversed. So I don't know how to explain this simply. But this looks very different from what we looked at last week, where 2026 G1's cumulative attendance was underperforming previous years. So suffice to say, it is doing better than last year. And last year was down from the year before that. Okay, so this is looking like it's doing better than 2025. but it is not doing better than 2024 or 2023. And just so we have a high watermark here, we keep 2019 on the chart just to see how high things go. We're at this point, 17 days into the G1 in 2019. It was at nearly 80,000 attendees. Of course, it topped out at 92, as everyone remembers. But at 35,000 total attendees across every night of the G1 so far, which puts it above last year. So on track to edge out last year.
They have 2 more nights. Both are at Sumo Hall. So those are, buildings that I would be very surprised if they get anywhere near capacity for the last 2 nights of the G1 this year. But that is what we are
So we have fewer nights than last year. Is that correct? They did 19 last year. We're including the final and everything here in the semifinals.
Yes. Yeah. Those are the remaining 2 shows, which are shows number
18 and 19.
18 and 19 is, yes.
Okay, so it'll be the same amount as last year.
It is the same number, 19 shows.
Yeah, okay. So we will have at least in terms of number of shows, we will have a like-to-like comparison to make next week. And how about the match quality? Here's what everyone's looking for. So again, I have put the x-axis in the proper order here, and this is a running average for the G1 through today, and this suggests, based on cage match ratings, that in terms of average G1 match rating, this is doing slightly better than 2025 or 2024, but not as well as 2023 and not nearly as well as 2019.
It's an interesting correlation that it basically is in line with
match quality equals business.
That's it's pretty remarkable,
heresy, right?
How this overlaps. This is ahead of 2024 and 2025, behind 2023, and way behind 2019. So
the attendance in 2024. So the attendance in 2024, the attendance is not on track to hit 2024. It's on track to beat last year's attendance, but it's not on track to beat 2024's attendance. But the match quality at this point is very slightly better. I mean, we're talking about 1/10 of a point here, which is think about that in terms of your experience watching a match, that this is pretty negligible, but it is a difference.
Will you be watching any of the G1?
I might see some clips of it on NJPW World on Twitter.
Yeah, that's the only thing you're going to see clips of. They will nab you if it's anyone else trying to take any of their footage. So beware.
They're owned by TV Asahi too. There was a Bushi Road filing this morning. Nothing new that we didn't already know, right? They sold their shares to TV Asahi. There's a lot of elegant corporate talk in there about how they feel that they've done a lot to grow New Japan, and TV Asahi is really well positioned to take it over. We're going to keep on having a great relationship with New Japan. Stardom is going to be moved into the live entertainment segment of Bushi Road, and some real sports entertainment talk in there that this is going to be more than just a wrestling experience that Stardom's going to be going forward. They're going to turn it into a total live event experience beyond wrestling.
A total live event experience. Well,
don't quote me on that, and it's translated anyway, but yeah.
Staying on the ticketing front, everyone wants to know, where are we at with All In London? So over the past week, they moved just under 2,000 tickets. So the latest number from WrestleTix is 38,689 at Wembley Stadium.
Why do we always have different numbers?
I'm going based on their platinum tracker. That's what I go by.
Okay, that explains it. Okay, and I'm going based on what's in the spreadsheet. WrestleTix spreadsheet.
Okay, those
which
things
is slightly
may not,
different. Okay, but that's very close. It's 300 apart on a 38,000.
It's huge. Okay, we need to have this down to the exact person. But yes, here we are. We have 17 days until the show. So how are things looking, Brandon?
This is a strong. I looked at this line. So we're looking at this line, the 2026 line. And what we have on the chart here is the 2025 line in Texas and the 2024 line in London. This is, London last time in 2024 was 54,000. 2025 in Texas was 26,000. It's obviously it's beat Texas, which I guess it better have. But this is a really healthy since 55 days to go or so. This has been a really healthy. It's almost a straight line. I looked at this line since this must have been around the time that Osprey and Omega was committed to.
That was July the 8th is when the title change occurred, and that seemed to be the pickup here because this thing had just stalled. Where, I mean, we were talking about like 40 looking like a goal to try and hit, and they are going to certainly pass 40 now. Like 50 seems out of reach, but this is going to be a very respectable number that they're going to finish at.
And in fact, this was such a straight line in the last month and a half or so that I said, we got to do an R square out here. And
that's what I was going to suggest, an R squared. Yeah.
Yeah. And since the slope has become positive, I think slope is positive when it's kind of like in a 45-degree angle, right? And now this has become, more positive, right? More upward. And in that time, in that time that we're drawing here in green, this R squared has become astonishingly strong. Now, I'm sure this R squared back here where there's much less movement is strong too, but that's with much less movement. This is an R squared with a lot stronger movement where we're, starting this elbow out at about 27,000 and now currently at almost 39,000. A R squared, you got to hear this, R squared of 0.978. That is almost perfect. That is almost perfectly predictable. I mean, if this follows the trend of usual ticket sales, there'll be an even more upward curve in the last several days.
Yeah, this is once the card and mainly the main event took shape, like there certainly has this is one where sometimes we see the big movement at the beginning and then the big movement in the last couple of days. I mean, this is one where you can really look at this is an audience that was waiting to see the card and Omega and Osprey. Like this would certainly suggest this was the right move to make and locking in this main event and at the right time, not waiting until 4 weeks out. Instead, they had this basically like 7 or 8 weeks out where, people that maybe are not based around England, like Omega and Osprey, if there's going to be a traveling match for people in Europe, that's probably your best bet of a match that people may make plans to travel for.
It's doing long-term booking, telling people what you're trying to sell them. That has good, positive economic outcomes.
So you make me remind me of what I am currently reading right now, which I'm going to discuss on book club next week. It is Total Nonstop Agony by Vince Russo. And this is essentially, I'm 3/4 of the way through this book, and it's basically, it should just be called Why I Hate Eric Bischoff. It's just constant. And one of their biggest issues is that Eric Bischoff wanted to create a Bible in TNA for the next year of storyline ideas. And Vince Russo is adamant you can't do long-term storytelling in pro wrestling because there's injuries, because there's drug test failures, people leave companies. You just can't do it. And his argument is that in the Attitude Era, we booked 4 weeks at a time. We followed the ratings week to week, and we just reacted in the moment. Can't do long-term booking. You just can't.
Mm-hmm. And Vince Russo has been, infinitely successful with all of applying that philosophy ever since.
Vindication. You just got to book by the seat of your pants, week to week. Can't do long-term booking. So you just you made me remind that. But we will talk about that book next week. We certainly don't have to. We are going to move on to another announcement, and that is, by the way, on just to compare, the August 30th date, which also has the AAA and NXT Heatwave event in Edinburgh, Texas, 3,138 tickets that they have out at the Burt Ogden Arena. This is the doubleheader that they're doing in Edinburgh, Texas. I would actually say for AAA and NXT in Texas, like it's a fine number, but this is obviously being done for other reasons here. Like this is what's going to be so interesting this week, and I don't want to belabor the Busted Open Radio topic, but it is going to be really something like on this weekend, for instance, where that Monday You're going to have a show with like 45,000 people, and it will not exist. It will be NXT Heatwave.
That's all that matters.
Look,
is it not the case that WWE is the number one wrestling company today and of all time?
Then, now, forever.
Yes.
CM Punk has been announced for 22 upcoming dates, and the most notable one in this is he is advertised for the Worlds Collide show. He's also doing an NXT house show this weekend, which this thing went from like 250 tickets to 1,700 this week with the addition of Punk. That's Punk effect in Petersburg, Virginia, of all places. But yes, he will be on the Worlds Collide show in Chicago, which is head-to-head with All Out, also in Chicago that same night.
Have you ever seen me talk about or think about any competitor of mine? Never.
We're in a horse race. We're just looking straight ahead. That's the only direction that we look in. So yes, the non-competitive weekend of September 26th has CM Punk in Chicago as well. What is the overall strategy of this? Like this combative strategy, other than like it's been so just ingrained in this whole. But why now? Like, what is the purpose at this point? Do they believe that AEW is vulnerable going into this potential merger, that when their next television deal with WBD is up, that somehow
this is not a new phenomenon, right? This is how WWE has always acted towards AEW. Certainly, at least since Nick Khan has been around, right? There's been a lot of counter programming.
Is this just death by 1,000 cuts? That all these little things will add up to something detrimental to AEW? Is it just a nuisance factor? They
continue to do it, so they must see it as valuable. They must see it as worthwhile. I can't tell you it is, but they must see it as worthwhile. And I think there's probably they probably see a lot of benefits. And one is when there's something else along with the AEW show, then it swallows up some of the AEW conversation. And I think that matters to them. It matters to Nick, who's sort of, who loves the media.
It is where, like the busted open component does fit into this. Like, that is a part of the public conversation. And for AEW's biggest show of the year, where they will legitimately have 45,000 people for their big show at Wembley, that will not be discussed the next day. And there is a strategy to this of sucking up a lot of the attention that is discussed.
And I think you could argue that, well, it's even more important to do now because AEW is kind of on the upswing and WWE's kind of on the downswing, even though there's fathoms between them still. But they are moving in opposite directions compared to the directions that they were moving in 23 and 24.
Also worth noting is Punk is listed for the Sunday night's main event that is on September 6th in Atlanta. He is not advertised for Money in the Bank on October 10th for whatever that is worth, but he's pretty much listed for every SmackDown from now through the end of October. And if you use the code PUNK20, you get 20% off tickets to honor the 20th anniversary of CM Punk in WWE, minus those, couple of years that you eliminate from the 20 figure.
Where was he in the time between? He was
a ghost.
Was that when he was on Heels? Was that when he was on?
He left the company to go do Heels.
Okay.
Then he came back. He went. He came home. He came home at the end of it all.
Okay.
Brandon, what is the state of television ratings these days? What
I think it's over with, right? There's no more TV ratings. It's all done.
Is it done? No, we're just gonna go by vibes.
Programming Insider is no longer reporting TV ratings, so it's all over with. Nielsen shut it down.
What is Nielsen's? Is this a good move by Nielsen, or does it somewhat make their data?
By Nielsen.
Like, does it take away some of the value of the Nielsen data when they are eliminating it from just general discourse, that it's like they are the provider of record for so many people, and they don't want any of this information shared? Is it just we're simply a B2B type of business that we serve our clients with data, and we don't want any of these numbers publicized? It's a huge part of like just the overall industry of just dissecting these shows, of discussion points that I'm sure Nielsen, they have their belief that this is all proprietary information, but it's also like free advertising that they receive.
It's
as
a
like,
fact.
It's like if Gallup said we don't want our poll results to... Well,
and if they're not facts, I would love to see them say so. I can't speak for Nielsen. I can only reserve all rights and arguments. So what's going to happen here is we're probably going forward, if things continue to be the way they were last night, we will get ratings sort of in one drop on one day or night. That happened to be last night where we got caught up. We got caught up to almost the present. And we do see that SmackDown on the 7th, which was last Friday's SmackDown, had a really good number of 1.47 million viewers. Number one for the night on cable. Doing all right. I mean, this is versus last year. This is better than last year. And that's in the sort of panel only time. So they're doing all right for SmackDown.
This is a great number for SmackDown, coming off of SummerSlam. And, as we mentioned, like SmackDown, they have really loaded up the show now. Like all your key programs have been designated for Fridays, with Cody Rhodes' program, with Randy Orton, with Kevin Owens back, working with CM Punk. That's where a big share of the interest is at the moment. And this was a great number that SmackDown generated last Friday.
And attendance, we did get back over to 10,000 coming off of the Green Bay, 4,000 some odd number.
Yeah, and this was in Philadelphia, where it's the same arena where UFC is running their pay-per-view on Saturday night. So they did 10,000 here, and I think they're at 16,000, 17,000 for UFC 330 tomorrow night as well. So this was the one where they announced the UFC pay-per-view with Josh Shapiro as the UFC went to... They threw us a curveball here.
Mark Shapiro?
Not Mark Shapiro, Josh Shapiro. Yes.
Any relation there?
Rare, not disclosed, no, but a rare Democratic endorsement of the UFC.
Oh, the governor of Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania, yeah.
Okay. Wow. He was, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying enough attention.
When they announced that the UFC was coming to Philadelphia, they did it with Josh Shapiro.
Wow.
So
who did it with him?
Dana did it with him.
Dana stood in person.
Dana's not political, okay? Don't make Dana a political lightning rod, okay? He's just a guy. He's just a guy, okay? He talks at certain conventions, if invited, calls it right down the middle.
All right. We can go to the next night, which was Collision, 418,000 viewers, 05 in the demo, which is, how's that compared to last year? I mean, why is Collision doing as well as it's doing? It's doing, I mean, cord cutting, you think that everything would be falling apart. I've got preemptions sorted out here, filtered out, right? Those are the little squares that are flying all over the chart here. But the blue, which is this year, is like right on and off and above last year, and kind of the same for the year before that, which is in gray. Collision's doing better? Any theories?
I mean, for Collision, one thing, it's like I can't give you a great analysis for why this has held up. But certainly I think the overall performance, like they did move Collision for SummerSlam, but we have seen it go up against Saturday night's main event. It has gone on the same day. I think it went the same day as the Saudi Arabia show. Certainly the move from Peacock to over to ESPN, they certainly feel like there are more resistant to getting destroyed on Saturdays now, which used to be a common occurrence for Collision on those PLE days for WWE, and that has not really bared out the last couple where they have ran on the same night or the same day.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I'm not going in chronological order here. So back to Wednesday on August 5th.
This was the Arena Mexico show. Sorry. This is Yeah, this is Dynamite from Mexico City.
Mexico City, 6,000. I mean, this is probably not including the because he can't estimate the floor or whatever, right? I don't know if this is a full number. Anyway, 694,000 viewers. Not to be confused with 6,490. Sorry, not to be confused with 6,409,000 viewers. That'll be later. This was 6,094. 6,094. 0.14 in the demo. Again, we can look at the year-over-year stuff here, and it's, many of these weeks, especially lately, are better than the same week of last year for Dynamite, and it's currently on average year-to-date versus last year through the same period. It's up 4%. The demo looks ugly for everybody, though, for whatever reason. Maybe that's just the gravitation of people of a certain age. Down 32%. But it's up in terms of total viewership anyway.
Question here. Is NXT still using the old system from September 23rd when they were drawing over 650,000? So NXT
I really don't know. You'd have to ask Nielsen.
Brandon is not affiliated with Nielsen.
I'm not affiliated with Nielsen whatsoever. NXT so not this past Tuesday, but two Tuesdays ago, 6,400 and, how do I say this number? 649,000, right?
Yes.
Did I say that right? 649,000 and a 0.07 in the demo. But it's a good question because broadcast, at least according to one article, the change to the Nielsen methodology was specific to cable and apparently not to broadcast. Where's that line on the chart here? If you see where the I have it on the big chart, I guess, but it starts in very early 2026, right? And do we see NXT move that much? It moves up a little bit. I mean, into Q3, it's averaging Q3, but it's not as if there was a sequential increase like there is for Dynamite slightly, like there is for Collision slightly. There wasn't for Impact, which is also on cable. There was a slight increase. Yeah, before we say Q4 to Q1, I guess is probably the better comparison, but it was in late January, so it's really only 2 out of the 3 months. There is an increase from Q4 to Q1 for SmackDown, for Dynamite, for Collision, and it's only slightly up for NXT.
And our last one here that we are going to announce, it's a big yearly event announced by TKO Group Holdings. A premium sports and entertainment company announced that its president and chief operating officer, Mark Shapiro, will participate in the Goldman Sachs Communicopia and Technology Conference on Tuesday, September 8th at 11:50 a.m. Eastern in San Francisco, meaning 8:50 a.m. Rise and shine, Mark Shapiro, for this conference. A link to the live session as well as replay available for at least 30 days will be accessible on the company's
I marked my calendar.
And I mean, this is one of the big ones. Shapiro always drops something of value in. Usually
pretty good audio quality on the Goldman Sachs too.
It's pretty crystal clear. That's the joy of the Communicopia. Mm-hmm. We will look forward to this coming up 2 weeks' notice. All right, we're going to wrap up. But thanks to everyone for joining us as we have gone through and discussed all the latest here in the world of professional wrestling. And next week we're back. Same time. Do you have something to add?
Do we have any questions? Anything to make of the huge difference between 18 to 49 and 25 to 54?
Do we have anything to make of the huge difference between 18 and 49?
Sorry, Snake Man, I don't. I don't see... I don't see much. It's older, so I mean I haven't been following 25 to 40 to 54. I'm sure it's not suffering as badly as the window of age that's slightly to the other way.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. You can follow Brandon, patreon.com/Wrestlenomics, as well as Wrestlenomics.com for all the latest ratings analysis and what other work he is delivering to you, the consumer. Check it out, all at Wrestlenomics.com. I'm over at PostWrestling.com today. If you want to check out on the cafe, myself and Way, we have the ongoing G1 coverage going on. We put out a free show today with Bruce Lord and Kate from Montreal. There will be shows this weekend, including coverage of the G1 final, UFC 330, and today, Rewind Away, covering SummerSlam 1991, a summer that included George Zahorian being convicted, Hulk Hogan going on Arsenio Hall, and Vince McMahon holding a press conference at Donald Trump's Plaza Hotel to announce his extensive steroid testing policy and not letting wrestling media know about the press conference.
We do have one more question here.
Oh, great.
This person's been dying to ask a question.
Can't wait.
Joe asks, yeah, I have a question. Are you going to get the gate number for All In, or will Tony not let you? So it's not the gate number that we usually get. It's usually the turnstile count number, which is different from the number of tickets distributed, which is different from the number of tickets sold, but it's the number of tickets used. And since this show is happening in London, in one of my favorite municipalities is the borough of Brent. And if it is like years prior, the borough of Brent will give us the turnstile count. I don't know how or why they get it. I've asked in previous years, maybe it's security reasons, but we will pursue all the information that we can, which is provided to us by government organizations in democratic societies.
Yes. Sleepiest Joe wants to make sure that all these tickets weren't handed out for free.
It was never the gate.
Did Tony buy all the tickets?
We have never gotten a gate for All In. Well, wait a minute. We did I get a gate for All In Texas? I don't think so.
I don't think you got
No, I don't think
gate.
I got a gate because we got the attendance because that was in Texas. Because you have to submit the attendance because of their events program, which they had applied for.
And we haven't got a WrestleMania gate this year either. Yes.
Okay.
Tony did say that the All In Texas gate has passed the 2.5 million mark. Expects it to cross 3 million. He said that in advance of All In Texas. So that's the closest we have to a figure for last year's show, which was in Arlington. All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll be back next week. You can always check us out, postwrestling.com, Wrestlenomics.com. We're here every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's it. Goodbye, and fold your chair.